All right, welcome back to another question of the day. Today's question is going to be, who doesn't get enough credit? What's a player or coach that just doesn't get enough credit, doesn't get the credit that they deserve? Question for tomorrow, I think this could be kind of a fun one. Let's just talk about someone who you just don't like in the NFL. No real reason, like let's not do anyone who's like committed a crime or been allegedly committed a crime. Let's stick that out. Just someone you don't like for whatever reason, whether it's just because you don't seem to like how they are in interviews, you don't like them because they beat your team. It just could be a fun one. Again, these things I feel like are more about having a fun conversation with the fan base. That's what I try to do. So without further ado, let's get into who are the players or coaches who don't get enough credit. Jeffrey Simmons. The dude is going to be a star, made a huge hump, I believe that's supposed to say made a huge jump last year, and was a big reason why the Titans defensive line was so strong last year. Yeah, I agree. I thought Jeffrey Simmons did a ton for that Titans defensive line and was a huge reason why when they did have pressure, it was because of him, I think. So I'm with you, still incredibly young, just 24 years old. He's someone who I could absolutely see being a star and is starting to become one already. Now, this take is just a fantastic one. Jackson Krueger is my pick for needing more credit. The strength gains from the squat rack, the knowledge of the game, his video editing time, hard on the field, uncontested hot takes, and the 1-2 punch of Jackson and Kyle, the great, has teams on edge. Just fantastic take. Well said. Maybe the best take of all time. So completely agree. Demario Davis, easily. He has been one of the best linebackers in the NFL ever since he arrived in New Orleans, but doesn't seem to get the credit he deserves in turning around the Saints defense with his high IQ and being a good run and pass defender, but never seems to be talked about as a top 5 linebacker in the league. I agree. There's so many good linebackers. I think that's why kind of he flies under the radar, along with, kind of being a surprise, like, oh my God, he's amazing with the Saints kind of guy. So, he hasn't been great his entire career. So because of that, I think that he gets slept on massively. He's one of the best linebackers in football. Jameis Winston. He is so underrated. He was not that trigger-happy, interception-prone quarterback last year as he was in Tampa Bay. He played very well with a bad receiving core, and I think that he will prove a lot of people wrong this year. Yeah, I mean, it's possible. I think Jameis Winston, it's very fascinating. I still stand by with Winston because there's a lot of hot takes with him. Some people think that he could be an MVP candidate next year if things break down perfectly. I think that he does some things very well, but the reason why I'm a bit hesitant to jump on the yes, he's underrated bandwagon just yet is we've seen this before. As a Tampa Bay fan, I have very much firsthand seen Winston have good moments before and have good stretches before, even putting together 4 or 5 weeks of good football. What we haven't seen is a full season of him playing consistent. So that's why I get it, but that's why I'm a little bit more hesitant. Tom Brady's contract throughout his career has not gotten the credit it deserves. It has allowed his teams to keep better skill positions around him and make his O-line stay good to great. Yeah, I mean, it's a huge advantage. I don't disagree. I think that it's a very smart thing that Brady does to take less money. Granted, easy for me to say when it's not my money, but I think to some degree it's allowed him to continue to grow his brand. It's allowed him to continue winning. And so I think that, for him, I'm sure he does not regret it. And it is a big advantage. Not necessarily, it's not like he's like taking like way less, but he's not moving the market forward. He pretty much always just takes what the market is instead of like, you see how guys continue to push the market and, every new quarterback is the highest paid quarterback once they meet the market. Not the case of Brady. So, yeah, I think I kind of agree. Mike Tomlin. He is allergic to losing seasons, no matter his roster, has brought a consistent floor to the Steelers for over 15 years with the ceiling of multiple Super Bowls. Seems to never be out of games and is able to consistently win when it gets close in the final 2 minutes overtime situation. Not to mention he's incredible at inspiring players to want to play for him and managing big personalities. Steelers fans calling for his job last year were out of their minds from a Browns fan. I agree. I've been a big Mike Tomlin guy. I consistently have him as a top 1 or 2 head coach in football when we do our head coaching rankings. He's incredible. You can only do so much with the talent around you. And Mike Tomlin has consistently had his teams overperform with the talent around him more so than any, when I do my analytic stuff of looking at the talent these teams have, the one team that consistently overperforms that is the Steelers. And I think it's probably because of Mike Tomlin, or they've been lucky for several years in a row, but I would probably bank on it being Mike Tomlin's a really good head coach. I'm totally with you. Someone who I think doesn't get enough credit is Will Fuller. He is a solid number 2 receiver, and I feel like people just don't count him as one. He doesn't win consistently enough to be a number one, but his pure speed and athleticism I feel is a valuable asset to a team and deserves to be recognized as an asset. Yeah, I like Will Fuller a lot. I think the issue with Fuller is just that he hasn't been able to stay on the field. That's the reason why he gets slept on, I think. Because when he is on the field, he's fantastic. And I remember the Texans had that whole thing where when he was on the field, their offense was incredible. When he wasn't, their offense not so much so. I think he's even a little bit better than you're saying. I think he's like just a really good number two guy. I agree, probably a bit of limitations for him to be a number one, but could maybe be a number one on a bad receiving core and is a really good number two. The issue is just like, if you got 17 games out of Will Fuller, you'd feel awesome, but that's a big F. Gus Edwards is very underrated. Consistently gets yards and rarely loses yards. J.K. Dobbins also underrated, but Gus even more underrated. Gus is a huge part of the Ravens' run game. Here's something that's a crazy stat. Did you know Gus Edwards has over 5 yards per carry on his career? That's amazing. Obviously, part of that is the Lamar Jackson effect, and that's going to help out any running back. But, it's pretty impressive. And for a guy who most people kind of view as just sort of a replacement level running back, I think those numbers alone are, I'm going to say he's at least better than that. Davis Mills, he's better than the 30th or 31st best quarterback in the NFL, like you keep trying to make him. Not saying he's the future of a franchise, but he's better than you and the media give him credit for. So first off, okay, I appreciate calling me out directly in the response. I actually think that's kind of fun. Here's why I'm lower on Davis Mills. Also, I apologize I'm not sure if you can hear it. There's some noise going on in the background. People are, in my apartment complex, they're like remulching the whole area. So if you can hear that, I apologize, but I have to record this video now. So we're doing what we can here. But here's why I'm not as high on Davis Mills. Davis Mills had the 21st rated passer rating last year, which I'm assuming is why he's getting maybe more credit. That's a solid passer rating at 88.8 for a rookie. It was 27th in QBR, though, which is definitely, I don't really care, but I don't know what that stat is, so I can't comment on it too much, but that's what it was. Also, 35th out of 38 eligible quarterbacks in terms of PFF grade, which I would care more about than a passer rating. So that stat says he was one of the worst quarterbacks in football, only ahead of Darnold, Roethlisberger, and Mike Glennon. So that's not great. Even the promising stat, he still wasn't top 20 in passer rating, which I think can be a little bit of, team dependent and even luck dependent, where I did think he had a couple of plays where he just threw it up and it worked out. I watched every game from Davis Mills. That's what I saw. So that's kind of part of why I'm lower on him. And the other thing is, the reason why I rank him as kind of at the bottom is I don't think he has the upside that some of these other guys do. So while his rookie season, maybe you could argue, was better than Lawrence's and Zach Wilson's and Justin Fields's, I think that's a fair argument to make. I'm not sure I would disagree. I might, but, it would depend. You could at least make the argument for that. The issue is that all those guys, I think, have a much higher ceiling than Davis Mills, which is just why I'm lower on him. Again, Mills had some really good moments. He had some solid games, but he had some bad games too. You can't just pretend like all he did was good. I think a lot of people point to that New England game where he put up a passer rating of 141.7, but don't forget the week before he lost to the Bills 40-0, where he had just 87 yards on 21 attempts, no touchdowns, 4 interceptions. So he was very inconsistent. There's stuff to like about him, but that's why I'm lower on him. But again, I get your point. Matt LaFleur. The man had 3 straight 13-win seasons, built up what was an elite defense this year, and when he got to Green Bay, Rodgers wasn't nearly as good as he is now. I'm with you. I think that, again, the results speak for themselves when it comes to LaFleur. He's done a great job at winning, and as much as you want to say, hey, they had Rodgers, well, Mike McCarthy had Rodgers, and that team wasn't going anywhere. So he's done an incredible job. He's gotten results, and like you said, Rodgers has seen his career go way up. Once LaFleur got there, Rodgers himself has talked about how much LaFleur has meant to him, so I'm with you. As a Chiefs fan, Derwin James is the best safety in the league, and I feel his injury history has made his ability, when healthy, really underrated. He's consistently great, even after all the injuries. Yeah, totally with you as well. Fantastic on the field. He's one of those guys where an extension of his name is now one healthy, as my podcast co-host Kyle likes to say. He's Derwin James one healthy because he's not always healthy, which sucks. I'm going to go with Rashan Gary as the most unappreciated player. He is already a top 10 edge, if not right outside it. Sign a Vikings fan. Yeah, he was amazing last year. All of his advanced statistics were fantastic. He was definitely a developmental guy, who was going to take some time, but now that he has hit that, he's been really good. So someone who was written off as a bust early on, someone who wasn't great at college, although again was better than like a Trayvon Walker, who we just saw get drafted. But still, he was definitely a developmental guy. Well, he's been developed and looked really good last year. Needing more credit is Matt Ryan. He might not be what he used to be, but I feel like he has always been in that Matthew Stafford category. He went to the Super Bowl with the #1 offense a few years ago. He just needs more talent around him. Yeah, we'll see how much he has left in the tank. He's always been you're right. He's always been that tier 2 quarterback for the most part of his career. Not quite that elite tier, not quite Tom Brady, not quite Drew Brees when he was playing. But, you know, these past few years, he didn't look great last year. Wasn't horrible either. Just looked kind of like meh last year. So it'll be interesting to see just how much he has left in the tank, how much of that was the lack of talent around him, because he had some good games last year too. He was just inconsistent. So I can see why you would say that. I just want to see more information. Even with all the flowers Aaron Donald gets, he is still not recognized for his outsized impact on the Rams. He was a single-man wrecking machine in the Super Bowl and every bit the same during the regular season. The fact that he didn't get MVP honors is pretty criminal. I'm assuming you mean Super Bowl MVP honors, not regular season MVP honors. But yeah, I mean, listen, I thought you could have gone several different ways. I would have given it to Matthew Stafford personally. You could argue Kupp, you could argue Donald. I think they were all very deserving. But I like this one just because, like, you could probably pretty much always say Aaron Donald, no matter how much credit he gets, is still underrated. He is the best player if you take positional value out of it in football. He is unbelievable. He has a Super Bowl ring now. And, you know, like you said, no matter how much credit he gets, still doesn't seem like it's enough. So yeah, that was the list of the guys who don't get enough credit. Again, let me know, who do you just don't like? For whatever reason. Maybe you don't like how their face looks. Whatever. Let me know in the comments below. Again, the way you get your comment read. Give me your answer along with a 1 to 2 sentence response. That's how I will typically put it up. Sorry I can't get to everyone's comments. I get so many comments now. It's very fun. But at first when I created a list, I had like over 30 comments. I'm like, okay, I got to whittle this down a little bit. I can't have a 30-minute video here. But, you know, I like to keep them sort of around the time that we've had them at. But yeah, make sure you get your comments in, and we will talk about it probably tomorrow. We'll see. Usually like to do these Monday through Friday, but it's not going to be, I'm going to keep it up in the air. Anyways, put your answers in the comment below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.